I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good day, Brian Califano. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful day?
I am having an awesome day. Thank you for asking, sir.
You are
Um,
welcome. Sounded as though you were going to say something.
no. I'm sorry. Having done podcasts, I know. Thank God for the power of sound editing, right?
Yeah, most definitely. Well, my friend, please do tell us, what part of the world are you in right now?
Right now, I'm in a suburb of New York City in a county, Nassau County.
Oh, super. And which of your talents do you think is responsible for us connecting?
Well, I think the biggest power, the talent that I have, is the ability to translate finance theories and, if you will, to raise money, to save money, and to maximize the net worth of your company in a way that is both reproducible as well as easy to follow. And I
Hmm.
think that's really the talent that I've harnessed over the past 20, 25 years that, sometimes you have a talent you don't realize until you wake up one day and decide to start your own business. So that's where I am right now.
Pretty amazing stuff. So let's talk a bit quickly because I did connect with you via the podcast, right? What
Yes,
you do. Tell us the name of your podcast first and what you offer there.
absolutely. So the name of our podcast is The Profits of Profit. I do it with my co-founder of our company, Accelerating CFO. And what we do is we meet, we have 15 to 30-minute conversations with interesting people in the small and medium-sized business arena that teaches us everything from how to raise capital to how to network properly to how to market your company to the latest cutting trends and techniques of what's going on in small business. And sometimes, every now and again, we'll have people on there that are just frankly interesting people who could help anybody, not just small business, but anyone.
Yeah. So there is where I understood and heard definitely the passion that you have for everything that you just stated in that very long sentence, which I think is can be summarized as maximizing profits for companies. Is that accurate?
That is absolutely accurate. We try to use that play of words, the profits of profit, in order to really translate into how businesses can really leverage their talents. Because, like you asked earlier about what I do for my talent. I firmly believe everybody has talents in this world, and everybody has their niche and or their their talents they can give the world. And I believe that sometimes we're really willing to go forward with that, and sometimes we're a little bit reticent, maybe unsure of ourselves. And I think one of the things I try to do is, through my finance acumen, try to help people through that way. Because as strong as I am on the financial acumen side, I realize people are just as on the opposite side, not as well, but they could be very good at manufacturing clothes or designing software or creating sound masking solutions for their clients. Whatever the case may be, they can do their best and they may not want to worry about the finances. And that's where we step in. And it helps me, they help me obviously grow my business because they become a source of referrals as well as stories I can tell people later on. And I can help them grow their business to help to better their families, their friends, and to live the life they fully want.
Yeah, it's just so important. Yeah, it's like which comes first, right? The chicken or the egg or the chicken, right? Definitely the profits and the talents and the maximizing of each definitely helps the other, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
Um,
cash flow is I liken it to the bloodstream in our bodies. Um, and I think it's important to understand how to turn those levers on and off in order to really maximize a person's growth. And I think, sometimes people, have the negative connotation of money and just associate it with bad things, or you have to take it, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to look at the world as, to use the analogy of food, which I like so much. You don't look at it as a pie. You don't look at it as just eight slices and, whoever grabs it first wins. If you look at the world out there as, an ever expanding universe where you never really know where the end is, and you look at it as money as maximizing your growth and really feeding the fuel instead of depriving another of funds, it becomes a lot less mysterious and a lot more enjoyable to make money and to make profits and to plow money back into your business, into your life stream, and into the community.
Where's the best place for someone to connect with you that resonates with everything you just said there?
Yeah, so we, if you want to listen to my podcasts, you can find me at the Profits of Profit, which is spelled PROPHETSOFPROFIT.com. My business name, you can also find us there at Accelerating CFO. That's ACCELERATING CFO.com. And feel free to correspond. You can find us on Twitter at the same at Accelerating CFO, and you can always find me at Brian Califano.
Wonderful. Tell me then one other thing, Brian, that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing I've done is really harness the 20 plus years of really finance executives over the past, learning how to be a financial executive for a Fortune 50 company and relate it to a smaller business. And I think the biggest thing I've done is kind of taken the playbook, if you will, where not everything necessarily has to be brought down to a small business. Not everything that a Fortune 500 company encounters will be encountered in same by the smaller business. But there's a lot that are the same. It's important to understand where to cut expenses. It's important to maximize, your profit using analytics to try to keep your products that are making the most money at the forefront, and maybe ventures or products that aren't as profitable, put that on the back burner. And I think that's really something I've learned over the past few years in conveying those lessons to smaller business owners who may have not had previous exposure or had previous knowledge of what it means to have a full-time CFO or a person who's focused on analytics and maximizing cash flow on your staff at a given time.
How does that make you feel? Doing the numbers, doing the work that's necessary, helping others do the work.
Oh, I tell you, the most satisfaction of, when you work for, what I'm doing now, what I've done for the past 5 years in this company that I started is the single most satisfying thing I've done professionally. I mean, outside of having my children, raising my family, of course, that's the most important thing. But when I help smaller businesses reach their goals or maybe go through maybe a working conundrum or a problem or a conflict that they have in their business that's impacting their ability to generate funds, and I'm able to steer them clear of that, it means a lot. It's a lot more satisfying to, help a small business owner maybe fund their child's tuition in college, or go on a family vacation, or maybe get another job for somebody that they wouldn't have, maybe not hired previously. It's very, very satisfying to me to see that person grow and fulfill their dreams. I mean, when people first engage with me, it's usually very frustrating. They've hit a roadblock, and they can't get around it. Or they know something is wrong with their business, but they can't quite put their finger on it. And they need somebody who has that higher level thinking, or who can analyze numbers, metrics, trends, and forecasts and really steer them out of trouble. And I think that's something that's a lot more satisfying than, increasing a share price or doing a deal that brings back return on invested capital for, a multi-billion-dollar company. I think that's, earlier in my career, it was more about me, frankly. And now at this stage of my life and with our business, it's a lot more about helping others, which is always going to be a lot more satisfying.
Love it. Well, amazing audience, we are live with Brian Califano. Again, he is the podcast host of The Profits of Profit. And you can definitely connect with him via the website as well, profitsofprofit.com, and profits being PROPHETS. Of profits, PROFITS. Brian, let's switch gears for a moment now, and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Brian.
Oh man! Right now I'm sitting in 40-degree weather. I'm there. I'm there in the Caribbean. Oh my God.
Brian, what is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory, believe it or not, is not a very good one. It's when I was 3 years old. I was struck by a car, believe it or not, and I spent my about a month in the hospital recuperating from those injuries. Not a great memory, but nonetheless a first one. And when I look back on that time, it really taught me how to be a survivor. How to be, that life isn't fair, right? Thank God, many years later, I'm healthy. I've played sports. I've been able to function in a normal life, but certainly that could have been a very tumultuous time. It could have obviously ended my life as well. So thank God it taught me, maybe not when I was 3, but certainly when I was reflecting upon that time, that it's important to stay resilient. It's important to stay focused. And, life isn't always a bowl of cherries, right? So you got to make the most out of it when you can, and find the inner resources to find the will to survive and thrive when life isn't always fair.
Love it. Can I offer? Well, it's a bit of an addition to the interpretation of the thought picture you created in my mind.
Of course.
I love the idea of, well, I don't love the idea, but I just remember I had a friend that had a motorcycle accident, and he was mashed up pretty badly. And what occurred with him at one particular point in time after just meeting with him, he said there was a point in time when he had to forget everyone else and only think about himself and himself getting out of the place where he is right now. And, it's fascinating to me. It's not a selfish thought, but it's the foundation of survival, if you would. And from there, once he got out, he was able to do so much more. And I just like the line of what you are doing when you're helping other business people, because I listened to the podcast and it seemed and it sounded like that. Hey, you need to get into this mode of, hey, this needs to survive, and to survive it needs to make profit, and to make profit you need to be more intentional with what you're doing. And it just is amazing how that connects in terms of that young man, that young child that went through that and decided to survive.
No,
is that accurate?
Yeah, that's very accurate. I think it's it's actually pretty poignant. Very much so. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's that old adage, right? You can't help others if you can't help yourself, right? Yeah. And I think, what your friend went through with the motorcycle accident was very much, even though it happened later in life, than certainly my first memory. It is true. I mean, honestly, as a 3-year-old, you're not really as world aware or self-aware as I am now. But at the time, it was obviously a horrible thing that happened, right? So, dealing with the broken bones and the scars and everything else that went with it, it was definitely something that, looking back, the more years you progress, and you can't believe what you went through. Yeah. And you're right, and you have to really be focused upon yourself and just say, you're going to get through each day, and you listen to those who are healers, and you do what they say, and you work on it yourself and find your own path, and you by surrounding yourself with people who are smarter. Yeah. You survive and thrive. That's what it's all about.
Survive and thrive. Love it. Well, if we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, Brian, what was your favorite song?
My favorite song? That is many, many good songs. I mean, I have a pretty eclectic musical taste, but probably my favorite song is probably Thriller by Michael Jackson, for many, many, many reasons. I think, obviously, he's one of the greatest musicians of all time, and I think, like any true expert, as time progresses and his untimely death, his music speaks more and more, and you can listen to it today as easily as 30 years ago and probably 30 years from now.
All right, my friend. Well, we have arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form, so it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Brian?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Brian, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes.
Are you married?
My children.
There you go.
I am married.
How many children do you have?
2 girls, 18-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Wow. Do you believe in God?
Absolutely. The first time I was raised to be Catholic, and but I tell you, the first time when I saw my child born, there was no doubt in my mind.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
I do, thank God. I have a close circle of friends, of which includes my wife of 23 years, and good friends who help me, guide me, and keep me grounded.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
I'm ashamed to say that I do. And I say that only because You work hard and you kind of play hard, but I like watching, American football, and that takes up more than 3 hours. Well, not quite 3 hours a day, but it's on a couple of days a week, and I like to unwind watching certain shows. It's one of my goals to cut back on, but the sad answer is yes, I do.
All right, all right. And what about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
No, I think I obviously spend a lot of time in front of a computer when I'm working, so that's obviously the case. But when I'm not working, I try to decompress. I try to I do put my phone away. I do kind of unwind, watching TV or reading, and spending time with my kids and my family. Yeah.
Brian, if you had to share with us a statement that represents who you are, your own unique real statement, what would you say that is?
I would say live the life you have dreamed and share it with those who keep you at your happiest.
Love it.
It's a statement. It's a statement I wish I knew I lived earlier in my life, but I'm happy to embrace it now.
Brian, this was a great pleasure, my friend. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to spend time with you and your audience. It's always a pleasure to speak with intelligent, high-level thinking people like yourself and your audience. So I thank you for your time. I wish everybody a wonderful day and have a great holiday and good luck meeting your goal of John Lee Dumas, man. If anything I could do, I like that guy, but if you can't dream big, then don't dream at all. So go for it.
Love it. Brian Califano, my friend, thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
And thank you. Have a great day, sir.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.